Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Actually, it's not Steve, it's Becky Brown, and I am joined by Dr. Jill Hubbard and Dr. Dave Stoop, and I'm so glad that you guys are with me, because I don't know what I would do without you.
You'd be talking a lot, Becky.
Well, I do that anyway.
Yeah, more than you do, right?
Yes, I do. I mean, you know, I've been known to talk a lot, but that's okay.
That's okay.
I have a lot to say.
Yes.
I mean, you know, always want to have people learning things, and, you know, everything that we do here at New Life gets me excited to help people. And one of the things that I'm really excited about is the Restore Workshop that's going to be next weekend. And, you know, we have helped so many men through the Every Man's Battle workshop and beyond. You know, we do Sustained Victory calls and just so many things that we want to help men in their sobriety and sexual integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for every man, there is a woman that's been affected,
hurting.
and we want to help her. And so we want you to call us and register. You can also go online to register, but we're going to be in Orange County next weekend, and you can join us there. And Shelley Martinez is our main speaker. But I think one of the biggest challenges for the women that are thinking about going to Restore is actually calling or registering. They know that they need the support, but there's some hurdles of, you know, this was his problem. Why should I have to go to a workshop? Well, it's affected you. And you're going to find out that you are not alone, that you have tools that you can use, and you can find just recovery and relief. Even if the marriage doesn't survive, you will, and you will thrive. And we want you to come to Restore next weekend, and I will be there. I will see you there. You know, the other thing that we are excited about is the 20th anniversary edition of Every Man's Battle book coming out, and we are, you know, we're excited because it is updated. There are things that have changed since it came out originally. Can you imagine that? And so it's our gift to you. For a donation of any amount, you can call us at 800 New Life. But I mean, over the years, how many calls have we taken from men or women who this has been the issue in their life? I mean, Jill, Dave, do you have any idea you want to guess?
Gosh. It's huge. It's become our number one issue. I mean, from the time I started, it has, well, and you too, Dave, way back, it's grown.
It's just grown in our culture.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think for Christians too, we finally are opening up about it.
Yeah.
Where it took, you know, we're always behind the curve, I think, in opening up about issues. And so finally,
honest.
yeah.
Well,
So then it just exploded, right?
Right. It's accessible. That's the reason why the updated version of the book is helpful, because it talks about technology, you know.
Accessibility, yep.
Right, exactly. And what we don't recognize is how things are driving us. We don't stop and think, what is this thing that I'm using? Whatever, you know, it could be porn, it could be drugs or alcohol, it could be shopping, could be eating. There are things that we use instead of dealing with the stuff of our life. We just kind of numb out and we check out. And we want you to experience a real life, a full life, where you're connected with people in your life, where you have meaningful relationships, redemptive relationships, and where God is the center of your life, because ultimately that's, you know, what we are all about here at New Life, because we know without Christ we are lost. And so we want to help you find your new life. You hear us say that all the time. And we want to talk to you too. So you can give us a call at 1-800-229-3000. Or if you need help or resources, you can look at newlife.com. We also have a free app that you can download and listen to the program, as well as get tips and resources. And see, and now I'm talking like you guys aren't even in the room, but I can see you. I know you are there.
We're here, Becky. We're listening.
And so, listen, we're going to let Jill and Dave answer those calls when we come back from the break. Thanks so much for listening, and we are here to help you.
I feel blessed to have had this opportunity for my needs to be met. connecting with other women who are fighting the same fight, hoping for healthy marriages and growing closer to the Lord on their journey.
My name is Shelly Martinkus, and I want to personally invite you to the Restore Workshop. If you have been affected by betrayal, it might be that your husband has been looking at pornography, it might be an emotional, physical affair. I would love for you to come join us.
I feel encouraged and hopeful that even in my struggle, I am enough.
You will leave with hope, with a community of sisters ready to support you, and you will also leave with tools to move you forward on this journey.
Through the sharing in our small group, I realize that I am not alone.
Please don't hesitate. Pick up the phone, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I would love to see you there.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Southern California February 28th to March the 1st. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back. This is Becky Brown, and I am with Dr. Dave Stoop and Dr. Jill Hubbard, and I promise to let them talk. we are going to answer some questions, and we're going to talk to Becky, who's calling us from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and she listens on Sirius XM. Hi, Becky. How are you today, and how can we help you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing well.
I guess I need, the question I have, I've been thinking about this, how I would ask this. I guess this is a question that I might add. There are so many women that have this question, but we're afraid to go to our pastors. We don't know really who to go to. There's so many different people out there that have different opinions about this.
For
so
sure.
When the Bible says the bed is undefiled, between a husband and a wife, does that mean that everything goes as long as it's just between you two and no animals, no other people are involved? What does that mean to you? Because I know partially I believe what it means to me, but my husband and I, when you're dealing with somebody who has never had what I would consider a normal, tender, intimate sexual relationship, all he knows from sex is porn, anything you could imagine. He was with a gang for a long time, and his family allowed him to marry a 24-year-old at 16.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So everything that he knows in his mind about sex is something I would consider out of a porn film,
Well,
and we've discussed this at length. And he and I we're both products of sexual abuse. And we've grown so much over the last 7 years.
Well, let me interrupt you
God
here.
is
Vicki,
using
let me
us
say,
greatly.
Vicki, let me say something here. Neither one of you are products of that. You've experienced that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I correct
Right.
that is because that has happened to you. It is not who you are.
Right.
And I
That's
think
not what made you.
Exactly. So it's very important to have that kind of clarified in your mind. The other part of that is your husband needs to have a reparative process.
Mm-hmm.
That's the short version of it. You started off the question with what's okay in the marriage bed, and we'll talk about that. But I think the bigger issue is there's got to be some restoration in what he's already experienced in his life. And like I said before, I'm not going to keep talking. So Dave and Jill.
But it's about the coming together, Vicki, of two people having a loving, emotionally connected, then physical experience. It's not about sex and the sex acts.
That's right. And I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What we have as a husband and wife, we've never had sex. We've never had any kind of sexual intimacy at all. I don't think there's anything more intimate than a husband and a wife studying the Word together and praying together. And that's all we have had.
Okay,
And my
so
husband-
clarify,
Okay, yeah,
Vicki.
explain that.
Clarify that,
husband.
Vicki, clarify that for the radio audience.
What do you mean, clarify that?
Where is your
Well,
husband?
my husband is in prison.
Okay.
Okay,
We
so that's
met-
the reason why.
Yes, we met back in 2012 when I was ministering, and he was a huge part of the ministry there. He was a pastor on the prison yard, and I didn't know he was an inmate when I met him. He had jeans on, and when he was introduced to me, he was introduced as the person
pastor.
that brought me onto the campus. It was his right-hand man, and
Okay,
I
and so
assumed that he
he's-
was part of the ministry.
And he's going to be released soon, and that's the reason why you're asking this question,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
And so,
just to clarify, he and I both, our desire is to honor God with our bodies as a husband and wife. And,
Great.
you know, he wants to know the answer to this as much
Yeah.
as I do.
well, I think
uh,
we've got some answers. I'm going to have Dave, why don't you talk about this for a minute, and we'll help Vicki out.
Well, it's got to be something that is mutual, because if it's not mutual, it's abusive. So you can talk about a lot of sex is communication, and being able to talk about what you expect and what you want, and what you desire, and you should be talking about those kind of things now, while you can't act on them, so that when you can act on them, you have a context out of which to act, and that to me is the meaning of the marriage bed is undefiled, is that both people are in unison,
In agreement.
and as to what is okay and what is not okay.
Well, it's about, again, it's about each other. It's not about self-gratification.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and
Yes.
going back to how long is it before he gets released, Vicki?
It's probably going to be about a year.
Okay, that's great.
You've got time.
That's great. So you guys can both do some
Yes,
really
we have
good
time,
work.
and
Yes. Have you ever heard of the book
and-
Every
and
Man's
he
Battle?
was yes, and that was one of the things I called last week that I was driving, and I would actually love, I don't know how I would be able to do it, but I would actually love to be able to implement this study inside the prison walls, because it would blow your mind how many men desire to honor God in that way, but they just have, you know, the word says my people suffer for lack of knowledge. They just have, there's nothing like that to teach them.
Well, I know that
yes.
there are some prisons that do have that as one of their programs, but I think, Vicki, for you guys to prepare for your life together, I mean, because it's more than just the marital bed
It
that
is.
you began the
There's gonna be
conversation
a big
with.
adjustment.
There's a big adjustment there, but
Right.
there's also him coming out of an institutionalized life experience. That's a huge, huge adjustment. And as well as you guys living together. I mean, it's all of these things. So I think it would be important for you to begin to do some healing work for your own restoration, just so that you're not thinking in terms of this is the product of who we are and how are we going to overcome this. And your husband really needs to do some work on his own recovery for sexual integrity. He needs to be
Yes.
relearning the way that approach, really, it's not what he has been taught. And obviously you want to have a better approach to your life together than that. I think, when we're talking about marriage, it doesn't matter if Well, there are some complications when you are marrying somebody who's behind bars, but there's so many things that go into two lives coming together. We're going to send her a copy of How We Love, but
that would be
ahead,
good. But
Jill.
and too, Vicki, you've probably already thought about this. But you guys have developed a certain way of being together given your circumstances, and there's a certain rhythm to that. And so when he comes out, while at first it'll be very exciting, and I'm sure you guys have lots of hopes and dreams about that, you have to be prepared for the fact that this rhythm is now going to be changed up. And it's going to feel awkward and uncomfortable, and there may even be some feelings of we've lost what we had. And so you're going, excuse me, you have to weather that to create a new rhythm of how to actually be together in real time.
Yes, it's so true. Good job, Jill. That was so good. I tell you, I learn every time I listen to either one of you. We're going to talk to Daniel now, who's calling us from Dallas, Texas. He listens to KWRD, great station in Dallas. Daniel, how can we help you today?
Hello, Daniel. This is Lowell, and pardon me, Daniel. The Lion's Den situation is what I'm looking at. Last year, I lost my wife, and I've been working through that.
So sorry.
My elder daughter, at 39, with a broken marriage from Canada, now lives down in DFW here, and her fiance broke the engagement that they had for a March 15th wedding about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks now. And that's tough on her. She's got also a 2-year-old and almost 3 and an almost 5-year-old. And I've known the fellow since May. Seems to be they were hitting it off real well, but I think they both have issues that they needed to address on points of control, both of them. And
good that they recognized it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They have. They both talked about working on it. He said he's going to try to go to counseling for it.
Okay, so what's your question for us today?
Well, then I've got another daughter. She lost her job, was making headways in her personal life. She's been in therapy for 13 years and was decreasing things that she had issues on. But I think maybe now she's she says, kind of a dark place where she doesn't feel like she has a purpose. So I'm in my early 70s, and I'm going like, how do I help them? I almost get the feeling that I don't think there's a secret drug addiction on my younger, but it's like she's having trouble probably conquering forgiveness because
so Daryl,
issues in her life.
I'm hearing about both of your daughters and the struggles they're having and how this is weighing you down, which of course you never stop being a parent. But, and I think there's this, fantasy that maybe we all have as parents that if we do a good enough job, we're going to launch our kids and they're going to have the lives that are, maybe better than ours, right? And yet life is life and it throws things at us and life is hard. And so your kids now are going through things that they have to work out. And you are there to love and support them.
Was your wife's death a surprise to the family?
It came about as a surprise, yes. And it's not. This is not their mother. Their mother is a born again Christian. My wife was, but my wife had mechanical heart valves and got double pneumonia, and so things happened quickly there within about 12 days. And
So that wasn't their mom. There wasn't their mom.
No.
But but still a loss.
It's still a great loss.
Their mom is supportive of them, is a remarried mother and has their own child. So it's a complicated, because I think when their mother and I divorced, it was hard hitting on the kids, especially.
Yeah.
I think on
Of
us,
course.
on the kids.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, family is complicated, and it doesn't matter what shape, size, or how we all get together, but we do need help, and we hear that you want to help them, and we're going to help you. We'll talk about this during the break, but it's not the worst thing to want to help your kids, no matter what age they are. It's just, how do we help them without enabling or without getting controlling, because sometimes that happens too when we're, helping adult kids. We get too much in their business. So we'll have some help for you when we get back. Thanks for listening. You can call us 800-NEW-LIFE.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. It's Becky Brown with Dr. Jill Hubbard and Dr. Dave Stoop, and we are talking to Lowell, whose family is in an upheaval. Everything
and we're
was
so
kind
sorry
of going
about your
okay.
wife too.
Yeah,
that's huge.
So, Dave, what would you like to share with Lowell about this?
I'm curious what your question is, Lowell.
Oh, okay. Well, and I'm Lowell, but I'm Daniel. Sorry.
Oh, you're Daniel. See, we're getting your name wrong. I'm sorry.
You combined
them.
them.
That's okay.
I called you a different name earlier. Sorry.
My grandmother, I'm sorry, not mine. These two young ladies, 39, 37, had a grandmother that was very controlling, controlled her husband, made him sit in another room to eat when they weren't in agreement, used the Bible very toxically.
Wow. Okay.
Very skillfully, but toxic. So they grew up, and then their grandmother tried to, what do you call it, wanted one child to become like her and didn't want a second child born. The second child was the sister. So the sisters have had a hard time getting along since youth. And I'm going like...
Who's... Okay, and this is their mother's mother?
Their mother's mother.
Oh, okay.
You know what I would do with them, Lowell? I would sit them down together and talk about the family and the roots of the family. And you got to be careful if you're going to talk about your ex's family, but you get them to talk about it, because whatever they're not talking about is a secret that's controlling their lives when they may not even know it. But could you do that?
I will certainly try to arrange that. And they have talked a little bit. There was some closeness coming, and then their own issues of getting each other's came up. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Make it a fun time.
Okay.
And you can be there to be a sounding board, to support them emotionally, to encourage them to get help, encourage them to talk to their mom if you feel that's helpful. But you can't solve it all for them. You just are coming alongside of them.
Solve it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I can solve it. Yes, and their mother has been helpful, where they both look to her more than they used to, and I see that as a positive.
And maybe even ask them how they think that you can be of help to them.
Yeah, sometimes the only thing you can do with grown kids is to pray for them.
To listen.
And listen to them. And nobody listens to them maybe, and so if you're the one that's listening, you're the listener, that's going to be a helpful.
Well, when people say things out loud, it helps them to sort it out.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not about giving advice.
And not fixing it, yeah. So we're going to send you a copy of Take Your Life Back, Daniel. I think that will help you as you help them, and we appreciate calling. We are going to talk to Jennifer now, who's calling us from Philadelphia, listens to WBYN, and we are glad you called. Jennifer, how can we help you?
Hello. Thank you so much for taking my call.
How can we help you?
Well, I'll try to ask the question pretty concisely. For the past 4.5 years, I've been dealing with the after effects of dealing with a screaming baby for a very, very long period of time. And I don't think I'm over it. And I'm just...
How old's the baby
trying
now?
To figure 4.5.
4.5. Okay.
And I do have a 2.5-year-old as well.
Okay.
How is the 2.5-year-old? Are they colicky too?
A ray of sunshine.
Oh, night and day, right? You didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Could be so good.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so hard.
And
So what's your question then, Jennifer?
Well, my question is, and it feels a little bit, I don't want to be insensitive to people who actually struggle with more traumatic life occurrences, but it feels to me as though I might be struggling with a little bit of like a PTSD kind of thing as a result of this. Like it actually went on
for how
longer than they say colic should go on. Like it turned into from a very highly intense baby into just a very highly intense toddler, and it's an intense personality. And my body just physically reacts to the screaming at this point. And so I just feel physically like the same way I would feel. I shouldn't say used to. I've always kind of struggled with anxiety and depression, and so I've had panic attacks in the past before having children. And my body does that same thing now whenever there's like a screaming tantrum.
Well, and the thing that's so hard, Jennifer, about this, especially this was your first child, and as a new mom, we all have so much anxiety anyway, and want to be such a good mom, and the inability to soothe one's child is huge. And so that fear, those fears that you brought in, that you had mentioned growing up, that anxiety. So yeah, I definitely think there could be some PTSD there, or just that ongoing fear that you have about yourself and about interacting.
And the fear that you're going to start screaming.
Yeah, and gosh, anyone who's had children at a young age, I don't care if you've birthed them or taken care of them, it is hard to know what is going through their minds when they're having those kind of temper tantrums, and you want to help them.
Right. And some children just get under your skin. Yes,
we're going to help you, Jennifer, when we come back. We're going to take a short break, and gosh, it is so tough because you want to be the good mom.
Yeah,
and it's hard. It's hard.
My wife had found me out through my past and my sexual addiction since I was a small child. It really gave me the opportunity to start digging into my past, start digging into my childhood, figure out what was causing me to feel the way I was feeling. Every Man's Battle will really give you that opportunity because all the guys there in that room are there for the exact same reason you're there. I don't want to be the reason that my kids are going to counseling. I don't want to be the reason that they begin to struggle with the same issues that I'm struggling with, and I've got to put an end to this. Yes, you can be different. God does love you. You can be forgiven for this, and there's a way out of this. But you have to acknowledge that you have to change and that there's a problem.
If you're struggling, call us. There are people on the other end of the line who want to hear from you, who want to help you. We don't want you to hand down something to another generation that just looks like pain and destruction. You can hand down redemption, but you got to take that first step. Just give us a call. It's 1-800-639-5433. It's 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the Transformation Welcome Gift, which includes a personal-sized Life Recovery Bible, a Life Recovery Journal, and 5 Life Recovery Workbooks. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops.
I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's been immensely helpful to me. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are so glad you are with us, and we are talking to Jennifer right now. And I wanted to say right before we get into the conversation, Jennifer, yes, you could have PTSD from that situation. So it's not to diminish anyone's experience with PTSD. You know, what we're talking about is post-traumatic stress disorder. That's what that stands for. And you definitely would have that if that was the experience. And I also wonder if you have been evaluated for any postpartum depression, which it may seem like, you know, we're a long way out years-wise, but depression or anxiety that doesn't go or that doesn't get treated can continue to evolve into other problematic areas. And so I don't want you to feel like you can't ask for help, and so I'm glad you're calling us today. Jill, go ahead with what you were going to offer.
Well, Jennifer, so I am wondering what kind of help you have sought, and also if your husband is engaged and involved, and how does he handle this older child?
Great
Can he be of help to you?
Well, I'll answer that first.
Okay.
My husband is very, very supportive and involved, and he and I, and he actually, we've been discussing this, you know, ever since this came into our lives, and which was very soon after we were married, actually. She was born right after our first anniversary. And he has said to me just recently that he thinks he's really still trying to get over it too, that he kind of feels himself really react in different ways from my own experience. But I didn't realize just how intense the feelings are for him too. So we're both still recovering, I should say, but we've been communicating about it, and it does seem that at the times when I am struggling most with the current situation, he's able to step in and I can get away and just calm down. So I do think that we've been working very well together.
Good, because you need to do that tag team, because it is too much. I mean, and just like you were saying, other people may have worse problems. This is really, really hard, Jennifer. This is like Chinese water torture over and over and over again, right?
Yeah.
to
and,
have
and
the
she didn't sleep either. So
yes,
I guess
and
that was the
yes,
combination right there.
right, and so that is hugely difficult, right? So you have to see that is to give yourself the grace for this being a really difficult situation. And this child didn't choose this, but for whatever reason, this is who this child is, and the difficulties that she has starting in life.
And that's why my greatest fear is that if I don't get my responses to like the stresses under control, that I'm going to cause her damage because I've never dealt with the trauma of those early years. And
so Jennifer, here's the thing: you don't want to take all of this on by yourself. So when Jill's asking if you've received help, I think it would be really helpful. She's old enough now that I would maybe get an evaluation if the tantrums are still continuing, because sometimes kids can have those for many different reasons. It's not just from whatever you might think it is, but just to find out if she's okay. The other part is that you need support, and that's why we're asking what kind of help. And yes, it's great that the two of you had help, but we had a call yesterday where the marriage was under so much stress from a child, and that would be really a lot for you guys as well as this child to carry that pressure. And she's old enough now that she's aware of what's happening in the house, so we want to give you support, right? And I know, and then it gets to be where I can't say anything about it because I feel bad because we don't have good responses. So
and you also want to separate out the fact that your child had this condition growing up, and not to yes, she's a difficult child, she has her struggles.
She is a child who has difficulties.
She is a child. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say, Becky. Yeah. She's a child who has difficulties, and to try to separate that out, and the importance, I think, what you're bringing up of dealing with the PTSD, that you're having a reaction because you don't want to then be blaming this child throughout life.
And I tell you, if you can get your brain calmed down, whether it's depression or anxiety that's triggering this, you'll be able to have better responses. You'll be able to do something different. It's hard to imagine
and that's
now.
why I'm trying to.
Go ahead.
That's why that's what I really want to do, and I want to know how to do that. And I am seeing a counselor.
Good.
Great.
Good.
And actually. And I was diagnosed with postpartum depression after she was born. It was very hard to accept that because I was so sure that I wouldn't be struggling emotionally if I didn't have such a difficult baby. But I had to realize that it doesn't really matter what's causing the struggle. Like the result is the same. So
it's physiological.
And Jennifer, here's the thing. The thing is that we have to accept what is so that we can move forward. It doesn't mean that we agree with it or like it. It's just, okay, this is what we're dealing with, and so what do I need to do to move forward? And it will make the hugest difference in your life as you find that help and find the strategies. There's so many different ways. I mean, I think that's almost dizzying sometimes, all the resources for parenting nowadays, but I think if you, I also wanted to say that I think maybe EMDR might be helpful for you in your recovery. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I don't know if you've heard about that, but you can talk to your counselor about that. I just think, so many things in our parenting experience we are not prepared for.
Right.
It's just like it is all hands on deck.
And if you have any perfectionism tendencies at all, it blows them out of the water.
Out of the water.
Don't you think so, Larry?
Larry's
laughing.
Speaking of
It
perfectionists,
does. And
our boss and the president of New Life has now joined us in the studio. Hey, Larry,
Hey
how are you today?
Doing good, thank you. So often I come on and I read all these wonderful testimonies, and I love doing that. This is a little different because it has to do with you guys doing radio. She says, I was listening to the broadcast today. There is a request from Larry Sonnenberg as to why people do or don't give, to write and let them know why. We give. I've listened to the show for several years, and I choose to give because the advice is scriptural and practical. The counselors acknowledge real life struggles and feelings we Christians have without sugarcoating the issues. Often the callers have problems that don't apply to my life, but the basic biblical principles are laid out in such a way that I can apply them to situations I'm dealing with. Your answers on forgiveness, trust, and reconciliation have been most helpful through the years. Thank you. And she signs her name.
Aww.
And I just want to,
Nice.
thank you guys. I mean, it's wonderful. And, we talk about these incredible life-changing workshops. And this is kind of one of those, I think, there's such thing as slow miracles. Where a miracle isn't just a boom and you get it.
Right.
And this lady's been living a miracle through the months or years she's been listening. And that's why we seek your support, folks. We just need to be able to keep doing what we're doing. It takes money to do it, and not apologizing for that. I just want to say, can you give? And can you think about Club New Life? Club New Life, we've got a great thank you gift. It is, we're calling it a transformation welcome gift because it includes a life recovery Bible, 5 life recovery workbooks, a general one, and one on 4 different subjects: grief, eating disorders, sexual integrity, and divorce. And then we have a life recovery journal. Say that fast 5 times. But
something for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there's other benefits to joining Club New Life. Ask about that when you call 800 New Life and sign up. It's a great program. You get a lot of good stuff. It helps us, and we need to keep it going.
You can be part of changing the lives of so many people when you're part of Club New Life. It really is true. We see it all the time, just like what you're reading about too, Larry, with the testimonies.
So thank you, and you guys can go back to the calls and get to work.
Oh, great. I'm so excited about that.
Thank you.
You were talking about the workshops, and we are excited about the Finding Freedom workshop where with Steve Arterburn and Chris Williams are going to be our main speakers. And, every day we answer calls for people who are stuck in situations. And I think there's so many times that if you could set apart a time where you say, you know what, this is the weekend that I'm going to focus on this thing, and I'm going to get some traction. I'm going to get some movement. Finding Freedom would be the perfect thing. It could be something like shame. You might be dealing with shame. It might be anger. Might be depression. Might be grief. You might be stuck in a loss of some sort. Or you might just, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, people, I know that it's hard to pick up the phone and make that call. You're wondering what goes on at that workshop. I don't do well talking about my own problem. There's all these reasons you're doing this negative self-talk, and get out of that. Do something a little bit uncomfortable. Stretch yourself a little bit. And we just find that God's Holy Spirit comes in and changes things, makes your heart different, makes you glad that you were vulnerable and you shared. So please pick up the phone.
Yeah, and you make phone calls every day. Make a life-changing one today.
Divorce shattered my family. I was very confused about my feelings, which are guilt, shame, and anger.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. I'm just wondering if you're feeling stuck and you're hiding behind a mask, or maybe you're ignoring some pain and you're just not wanting anybody to see the real you. Maybe you're just gripped by fear or guilt, shame, anger. There's grieving that needs to be done. Well, Chris Williams and I are going to be doing the Finding Freedom workshop. It's a great place to discover how to live a life of freedom, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You'll learn how to overcome your painful past and recognize the habits and behaviors that can lead you to the life God intended. It's time to get free from the rut you're in and experience transformation in your life.
Join Steve Arterburn and Chris Williams for the New Life Finding Freedom workshop coming to Orange County March 13th to the 15th. To register, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are so excited that you are here, and I'm going to try and take a call, but my screen's kind of messed up. So Terry Mack, you can help me out there. We would love to take. Go ahead.
Henry?
Yes, we're going to talk to Henry, who's calling us from Canada. Henry, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good. How can we help you?
Hey, well, I just had a quick question. I listen to your show all the time, and I find it very helpful.
We are so glad you do.
I just had a question about my marriage. I don't even know how to ask this question, but just the last couple of months, the wife had told me that she feels like we're growing apart more and more because I do work away from home all the time. I'm usually gone 3 weeks out of the month. Home for a week. And she had said that she's not attracted any right now in the physical aspect of it, but everything else is okay. And that was
hurtful.
Kind of hard to hear.
Of course.
Because I'm not the most emotional guy, and I don't know if that's a guy thing or just a me thing or what. But the reason I am like that, because when I am at home, I try not to get too emotional, because when I leave, it's really hard to be at work, and all the times I break down and stuff. I just, I never told her that until about a month ago, and just because I always worried about her.
Yeah.
When I'm gone, if she'd know that, because I do have a pretty demanding job, can be dangerous at times. So,
what do you do? What do you do, Henry?
I work in the oil fields, the drill rig in Canada.
Okay.
How long have you guys been married, Henry?
13 years this August.
Okay. And do you have children?
Yeah, 11 and 9, too.
11
Okay.
and 9. Well,
it is
Henry,
so hard to be married.
Yeah, it makes
apart.
sense that you would want to protect yourself from the emotion, but in doing so, you've pushed your wife away, and she has felt the distance. And you know, we women, we are different than men, and we need to have physical, like, proximity and emotional connection. You know, like a man can be sitting in the same room with a woman and think that they're spending time together. But we women actually need to be face to face and engaged and really feel the connection between the two. So that's where there's differences. You being gone for 3 weeks, I mean, I hear that this is your job, but that means the week you're home, you have to do triple time, face to face, really connecting and be very emotionally engaged.
Which means you're very emotional and you're showing your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hide them.
Because you're losing her because you've checked out in order to protect yourself.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, and we have talked about that, and we're both in agreement with that. And that's the thing that I'm really struggling with. I'm frustrated at myself that I did that, because
well,
I didn't. It was never intended to.
Of course not.
It was for,
right. So the way forward, Henry, is to accept that that's where it was. You seek forgiveness from her, and then you move forward in reconciliation. And I'm wondering, Dave, you can probably speak to this more than I can, but, staying in touch with each other when you're gone for 3 weeks out of the month can be a challenge. But, going forward, I think you have to find ways that you have regular intervals of connection. I mean, there's FaceTime. I'm sure you guys are, I don't know if you're that connected, though. Like, where you're serving your job, are you even, able to connect by phone? Right.
And is there any way, Henry, to change your work schedule?
Well, I have thought about it for a bit, and I told her that I was going to see if I can find a job where I'm home in the spring, because currently where I live, there's not too much available right now, so I'm kind of just looking around, and hopefully this summer change it. She knows that.
Okay.
We've talked about that. And I guess, because what she has said is that she's not giving up for sure on this.
Good.
And I understand
then there's
that
still
it's hard
hope
for her, but at the same time, she said she wants her space, which I totally respect, and I can understand that. Just,
she wants her space. She has plenty of space.
And
I think the bigger problem is that you guys don't know how to connect.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the space. That's taken care of. But Dave, why don't you talk to Henry about some options for he and his wife to get connected?
Well, there are loving things that you could do, little things that are meaningful to your wife if you are aware of them. And love is based on behavior and action, so that would include attraction. But the other part of that is being emotional with her, letting her know that you miss her, that you hate leaving, and becoming emotional about it is going to be a big part of it, because you're a real person then. You're not just an object. You're a complete person in her mind, and that's more attractive.
Doing things to...
And a lot of that... Sorry.
That's okay. I was just saying, doing things to switch things up. Break up the pattern that you guys are in that has gotten you here.
If you don't have cell phone coverage where you're at, then mail her a card.
Yeah, write her letters.
Buy some cards where you're at home and take them with you, and stick one in the mail every week randomly, is ways to let her know that you're thinking about her.
And I would say have the conversation about looking for another job. But there's a lot of people who spend a lot of time apart who have good connections. And so the big thing I hear from you, Henry, is that it's hard on you to be away from her. Like, this isn't just her saying, I'm not attracted. I hear the pain that you're expressing and that you're kind of keeping inside because it's just so hard for you to be away from the family. Is that right?
That is true, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So she needs to see that side.
And we do have phones. I mean, I talk to her all the time. It's just, I feel like since she knows I'm that emotional about it now, which I just told her about a month and a half ago, I feel like the communication is better.
Good.
Than it was before. But at the same time, I kind of feel like she's getting maybe a little bit irritated because something she hasn't seen for the last little while or so.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that's natural.
I just don't.
Yeah.
Like, why couldn't you have done this earlier?
I know.
And the thing is, Henry, the thing is that maybe you need to talk to her about what you're feeling that she's thinking. Just, that's more conversation. I would encourage you just to keep connecting, Henry. We're going to send you a copy of How We Love. There's a great way to have a conversation in there in the comfort circle, but we'll be praying for you, and we're praying for all our listeners. Keep in touch with us. You can follow us on Facebook and all the things. But thanks so much, Jill and Dave. God bless you all.
We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Thanks for watching New Life Live on our New Life YouTube channel. You know, you can see it anytime. Hope you'll subscribe, and when you do, hope you'll turn that little button thing on, the bell, so that whenever we post a new video, it'll ring right through. Now, if you go to newlife.com, you'll see the schedule of when we're in the studio, which is helpful to know if you have a question for the program, or you could go to newlife.com or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You could do this on the app. I mean, there's so many ways that you can stay in touch with us and know when we're there, because we want to answer your questions. So thanks for watching right here on the New Life YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time. Click here to subscribe.